from the Newsmax studio in New York City, a fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
If we are investigating criminal wrongdoing, targeting of people based on their political beliefs, and the emails in question are lost because of a hard drive crash that is apparently unrecoverable, which a lot of IT professionals would question, and you don't tell us about it until we ask you about it, that is not being forthcoming.
And that's true.
I yield back the balance of my time.
That's not true.
All right, there you go. Very contentious, just part of it. That was Paul Ryan and the IRS Commissioner Koskinen. And welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show. We're going to talk much more about that and let you hear some more of the exchanges throughout the program, including coming up with Bill Kristol of the Weekly Standard. But this is, I don't want to say huge. This is awful. This is horrendous. How on earth does the IRS Commissioner sit there and defend Lois Lerner throwing out her hard drive, which, according to Paul Ryan, occurred 10 days after the first letter of inquiry arrived to Lois Lerner involving this whole scandal? I mean, how do you do something like that? And this isn't, Joe's Fish Mart. This is the IRS, which forces you, it suggests, I don't know if they force you, to keep your income taxes from 7 years ago. So this is something that, again, I know if this was happening under George W. Bush or any Republican president, this would be all the media is talking about, yet CBS, NBC, and ABC hadn't even mentioned the hard drive being thrown out by Lois Lerner. All right, Bill Kristol joins us, but first, some more from what happened today.
Your letter describes emails as being unrecoverable.
Correct.
But fails to mention where the damaged hard drive is today. Do you know where the actual hard drive is that crashed in 2011?
I'm advised the actual hard drive, after it was determined that it was dysfunctional and that with experts no emails could be retrieved, was recycled and destroyed in the normal process. This was.
So was it physically destroyed?
That's my understanding.
So was it melted down? Do you know?
I have no idea what the recycler does with it. This was 3 years ago.
There you go. And joining us now, as promised, Bill Kristol, founder and editor of the Weekly Standard, ABC News political analyst. Hey, Bill.
Hey, how are you, Steve?
What are we supposed to keep? 7 years of records for the IRS? And if they feel like calling us in and we don't have them, we could wind up in big trouble. And they threw out the hard drive and I guess she was looking for an environmentalist award, and she might yet get one at the Oval Office from the president. But wow.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Ryan is a pretty mild-mannered and even-tempered guy. He treats witnesses with great courtesy. I've seen him do hearings before with people he deeply disagrees with. And for him to sort of say what he said to the...
Well, we'll get to that. Yeah, this was camp, actually, but we'll get to Ryan in a second. But yeah,
camp, too, is also that way. I mean, very gentlemanly chairman. I mean, I was up on the Hill myself this morning talking to another member. I mean, the degree to which they can't believe what's happened, can't believe how much the IRS has misled them and obfuscated and may now be lying or not. They can't tell, obviously, but they have just totally lost confidence in it. I think House Republicans should think really hard about the appropriate response. I mean, I think now the public would be supportive of a very radical sort of limiting, restructuring, cutting back of the IRS in a way that I wouldn't have said a year or two ago, just because I think people have really lost confidence, as they should have, in this agency. And it does, if you look at the VA, if you look at other big government agencies, I think the case for cutting government, for getting government out of a million things, for simplifying government, is really just been made so much stronger, not because we've made theoretical arguments from reading Friedrich Hayek, but because of people's actual experience and observations of this big government.
Now, you know that the networks are not covering this. The networks have nothing to do with this for the most part. Neither one of them, none of the three, bothered to talk about the throwing away and the destroying of the hard drive. While shows like this and others and great publications like yours and your astute analysis on ABC, educates the people, still in all, this has not become front and center in the media, no matter how egregious it is.
But this is where legislation matters. Well, this is where hearings come out. I think the Ryan or Camp exchanges with the IRS commissioner could be newsworthy tonight and over the weekend. And secondly, if someone introduces in the House legislation to radically curb, overhaul, et cetera, the IRS, if that legislation moves to the floor, if it passes, maybe some Democrats vote for it, then they try to have it go to the Senate. What if the Republicans win the Senate in November? Then it really could be passed next year. That forces the coverage. I think this is why having one House of Congress, even more having two Houses of Congress, is so important. You know, you're not going to pass that much over President Obama's veto, but you can force coverage in a way you can't if it's, you know, a hearing and you're complaining about the answers of some witness.
Do you think you're going to ever get that forcing down to Chris Matthews and Rachel Maddow?
Well, that's a bridge too far. But you know what? They have so few viewers that I think it's not. That really is the echo. That's the echo chamber of echo chambers. You know?
All right, I want you to hear. I do want to play a Paul Ryan exchange here with the commissioner. Let's listen to this and watch it.
You told us on Monday because we asked you whether any other hard drives crashed. This is unbelievable. You told us on May that you were going to give us all of Lois Lerner's emails, and you learned in February that this crashed.
I did not learn in February it was a crash, and we told you on Monday.
I'm not asking you a question. I'm just making a statement.
My apologies.
You are the Internal Revenue Service. You can reach into the lives of hardworking taxpayers, and with a phone call, an email, or a letter, you can turn their lives upside down. You asked taxpayers to hang on to 7 years of their personal tax information in case they're ever audited, and you can't keep 6 months worth of employee emails?
It is astounding. Now Jay Sekulow is going to be with us later, and he's gone on the record as saying he's never seen anything like this in his lifetime. I mean, where does this rank, Bill, in your view, with the great scandals or the attempts at illegal activity? Where does this scandal rank in your view?
I think it's hard to know, but I think it's hard to know precisely because it could be a really big one, because we still keep learning more, and that's in a way what Paul Ryan was saying, that you think you've discovered one misleading statement, one kind of mini cover-up, it was just the Cincinnati office, et cetera, and then it turns out there's a whole nother level of misleading statements and perhaps cover-ups and perhaps, in this case, destruction of evidence or not telling the truth about evidence being unwittingly destroyed or whatever. So I think it's very much an ongoing scandal, and that's another reason why the Republicans are wise. Not just Republicans, really. If you're a decent Democrat, shouldn't you be concerned about this? That power, the power of what Ryan just said is really what strikes me. Every taxpayer has to hang on to these records. The IRS looks at you really askance and suspiciously if you don't have some of them. You have to go to great effort to retrieve them if you've ever gone through this, and go back to some bank or stock firm or real estate, dealer or whatever, and say, I need my records from 4 years ago. By mistake, I threw them away. I don't seem to be able to find them. And then the IRS itself is just cavalierly doing this. I think people really are outraged about this.
All right, here you were on CNN, Erin Burnett, and I want to play a little video from that.
I actually love the whole conversation of relitigating the original war, just because I love having this conversation.
I'm happy to have it, Erin. I'm happy to. You have Harry Reid. Let me say my final. Have Harry Reid invite Harry Reid to come on the show, and let's debate 2003. He voted for the war, but let's debate whether it was right or wrong. I will do it. Sit here with you and Harry Reid and have a half-hour-long debate. But for him to tweet out, the only thing I want to hear from them is an apology, is that really an appropriate way to conduct yourself as a serious leader of a democracy?
Apologies would be in order at this point from the neoconservatives who banged the war drums I'm so disastrously, Bill.
Hogwash.
I loved your response, and of course there was more to it than that, but I wanted to get the rest of it from you. This attack now on Dick Cheney, who dared to speak out, this attack on the neocons who took us into Iraq in the first place. What's your take on all that?
I mean, they want to suppress debate. I really think that's the take. This is not, I mean, first of all, they don't want to defend President Obama. They don't want to have a serious discussion about what our policy should be right now, given what's happening in the Middle East. The actual article I wrote with Fred Kagan said explicitly, let's not relitigate 2003 or 2011 when President Obama didn't secure us any residual troops there and didn't intervene in Syria. Let's just look forward and what should we do? They don't really want to have that debate because it reflects poorly on President Obama, and because they don't want to be serious, in my opinion, about what we probably have to do to maintain some modicum of of non-chaos and non-terrorists, dominating huge parts, unfortunately, of the Middle East. So they want to go back to 2003. Fine, I'm willing to, as I said, I'm willing to debate Harry Reid on that, but they don't want to debate anything. They just want us, in a sort of semi-Maoist way, bludgeon the people who refuse to agree with them into coerced apologies. And maybe some political types feel they have to apologize because they're running for office, like Hillary Clinton. But since I don't think I was wrong, I don't see why I should pretend to be apologetic, and I won't apologize. But again, I'm happy to have the debate. Carl Bernstein, he said something, I think this is the greatest disaster in the history of American foreign policy. I can't remember exactly, something like that. I mean, really? Is that like, even if you thought it was wrong, is that like a plausible, I mean, they've sort of lost their minds, but I think the main thing that strikes me is the attempt to suppress speech. Someone called me the other day and said, what do you think about Dick Cheney? I mean, what do you think about him stepping into this debate? I said, well, I don't know. I only read the article quickly. It looked pretty, I'd agree with about 95% of it. He probably said it a little more strongly than I would have in a couple of places. And they said, no, but I don't mean the substance. I mean, what do you think about his, feeling he had a right to step into this debate?
How dare he? How dare he?
That's what what liberalism has come to. It's come to that on campus, on matters of gender and sexuality and all that kind of stuff. It's come to that now in the political sphere with Harry Reid. The Koch brothers have no right to spend their money.
Right.
Only the Democratic
right. Only George Soros
money.
And the rest of them.
People who've been wrong on a million times on foreign policy, they get to talk forever. But those of us who supported one war that turns out to be difficult and is now controversial in retrospect, the war, of course, that Harry Reid and John Kerry and Hillary Clinton supported. But even leaving that aside, we don't have a right to have an opinion about what should be done going forward. Or to have an opinion, we have to base ourselves and apologize first. It really is hogwash, and people should not be at all intimidated by that.
And by the way, congratulations, you were right, because Hillary's book tour has been a disaster. You didn't use that word necessarily in prediction, but you did say her approval numbers would be way down 6 weeks from when we last talked, and they're going down, as we've seen in the polls, trustworthiness and all that kind of stuff. Bill, always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Great talking to you.
Take care. Bill Kristol, ladies and gentlemen, founder and editor of the Weekly Standard, ABC News political analyst. When we come back, we're going to talk about all of this with the Malzberg panel. Don't miss it on the Steve Malzberg Show.